Hello everyone. My name is Koina Das and I am an MSc student from IIT Indore. In this video, I will give a brief overview on my MSc thesis work titled Seasonal Variation in the Composition of Upper Atmosphere of Mars. Scientists have been exploring Mars for the past few decades. Many believe that Mars can be made habitable through artificial processes appropriate for human survival. Currently, Mars does not support liquid water and also has a very thin atmosphere. However, before 4 billion years, Mars was exactly like our planet. What caused Mars to become as dull as it is now is something on which research is going on. Mars also shares some similarities to our planet. Lastly, scientists predict that there might be life present below the surface. Future missions to Mars will give us a bigger insight on this. The upper atmosphere of Mars is present above a height of 100 kilometers from surface. It has a very thin atmosphere consisting mainly of carbon dioxide gas. In this layer, the gases from the well-mixed lower atmosphere diffuse separately. Factors like solar insolation, dust storms, gravity waves, atmospheric circulation, and coupling processes affect the atmospheric densities in this region. The figure over here shows the position of Mars with respect to Sun throughout a year. The seasons have been referred with respect to the northern hemisphere. Since the planet is farthest away from Sun at aphelion, during this time the northern hemisphere has mildly warm summer and very cold winter. And when the planet is near perihelion during this time, in this time, the southern hemisphere has very hot summers and the northern hemisphere has mildly cold winters. The temperature sometimes becomes less than the CO2 frost point during winters, as a result of which CO2 freezes out from the atmosphere to form dry ice, thus decreasing the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. The plot over here shows the variation of CO2 density in an entire year. Over here, we can see that the density decreases the most during southern winters as compared to the northern winters because the planet is farthest away from Sun during this time. Now we will see the factors which affect the upper atmosphere during each season. For this, we have used data for 3 Martian years. Firstly, changes in solar insolation affect the CO2 density in the atmosphere. Autumn and winter season have higher density as compared to the other two seasons. Also, due to the rotational axis of Mars, more sun rays fall on the northern hemisphere during spring and summer season, and hence this hemisphere has more CO2 density as compared to the southern hemisphere. The reverse takes place in case of autumn seasons, where southern hemisphere has more density as compared to the northern hemisphere. Second, that the dust storms. These storms increase the amount of CO2 density in the upper atmosphere. They are more frequent during autumn and winter, which is another reason why we observe high densities during these two seasons. All seasons do not follow the same atmospheric circulation pattern. Spring and autumn season follow a double cell circulation pattern in which hot air rises from the equator and moves towards the poles, thus increasing the density near the poles and decreasing the density near the equator. The other two seasons, summer and winter, show an interhemispheric atmospheric circulation. Here, hot air flows from one hemisphere to the other hemisphere and thus increases the density in the other hemisphere. These are the two circulation patterns that has been observed throughout an entire Martian year. Apart from these seasonal factors, some local factors like gravity waves, atmospheric tides, and coupling between lower and upper atmosphere affect the thermosphere as well. Study of their effect is not within the scope of my work. In the night-side thermosphere of Mars, an unexpected warming was observed near the southern polar region during summer and in the northern polar region during winter. This warming was caused by the following factors: solar insolation, dust storms, gravity waves, atmospheric circulation, and various coupling processes. Comparing these two polar warming regions showed us that the winter polar warming was higher than the summer polar warming at any altitude or longitude. This is because during the winter season there was more solar insolation as compared to the summer season, and also dust storms were more frequent during this time. Now, before finishing the video, let us summarize what we have learned. Firstly, CO2 density decreased the most during southern winters and least during the northern winters. Study of dayside and nightside CO2 densities for all 3 years gave us an idea on the physical processes that control the upper atmosphere in each season. Lastly, the winter polar warming was more than summer polar warming because of high solar insolation and dust storms during winter. Thank you very much. Hope that you enjoyed this video.